Overcast, the podcast beyond World of Warcraft.
And welcome everybody to season 2 of Overcast. We did it. We're here. We got him.
Oh man, it's been a long time. We had a huge break. Well, it was the holiday break more or less. It was that huge.
Everybody was super busy with the raid releasing and obviously the expansion releasing and everything like that. And I know you've seen the title, but today's guest is one that we've been trying to get for quite a while.
Yeah, it was a journey for sure.
We want to officially welcome Hazel to the podcast.
Hazelnutty.
How's it going, Hazel?
Hello.
How you doing,
Hi.
Hazel?
Thank you very much for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, it's been how many months? I think we emailed Hazel.
One of the first contacts we reached out to.
Yeah, in the summer, because we have some of our favorites, and then we have a lot of favorites, but you're on the top list, right? And Hazel, with such a busy bee, well, all content creators were doing this summer because if you guys remember, we had Alpha for Shadowlands and Beta and such, and it was busy times for everybody. But here she is. So I'm gonna shut up now. Hazel, let the good people of the YouTubes who don't know, I don't know who doesn't know, but who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Hazel. I am a standard issue WoW content creator. So like most people, I'll do YouTube and I will also stream. My YouTube is a lot of guides and then a weekly news roundup. And then stream is just a lot of mount farming and very casual kind of social, just sort of chatting and hanging out and spending time with people, especially now during quarantine. It's nice to have people to talk to every day to, make them not run together so smoothly. So, nice standard issue, middle of the road casual WoW stuff. I don't do anything too insane. I'm not mythic rating. I'm not world first racing or anything like that. But playing the game and just sharing it with people.
Because Hazel is for the people, y'all.
Can I point out one thing is when you wanted to say during this. You took a moment.
that YouTube brain.
You cannot really say it too explicit, but and you said quarantine, which is like a very nice choice of words because YouTube doesn't like when we use different words of the vocabulary for for said thing.
It's interesting because Hazel, she mentioned like the content that she does is pretty chill, pretty laid back, but that doesn't mean I, at least, don't look for the goddamn guides. I mean, before we ever start each heroic opening season, I kick it off with Hazel's guides. Now, there's a lot of people out there who do guides, but I don't know, there's something about the delivery, the editing, and I know it takes a huge amount of work for that to be done. So, among all the other things, Hazel, I want to personally thank you for helping me understand mechanics in heroic rating.
God knows he needs it.
Ah, shucks.
Shut up.
The biggest compliment that I could ever get.
Yeah, the thing is, right, people can read up stuff on Wowhead, there's a bunch of sources nowadays for getting into heroic rating or, just normal rating or whatever, understand the mechanics, but there's something about visual information dubbed up, with a very nice voice and smooth delivery and proper research, right? Because you cannot fuck up guides too much because then you'll get blasted off. But anyways, I wanted to ask you, first of all, Hazel, when you first started your journey on YouTube making videos, I know you played a lot of Don't Starve, and I think that was around Mists of Pandaria time. You did a couple of WoW videos. I think it was some pet battle stuff and a lot of pet stuff. Like, when you started off, did you have, like, I don't know, some sort of projection or dream or something or a goal? It's like, hey, man, I'm going to make it into this. This is all I'm going to do. I'm started off with this. How did that go? I don't know, what was it? 8 years ago or 7 years ago?
8 years ago now. Yeah, I started with Let's Plays because that was what I watched at the time. Kind of 2013, sort of 2010 through 2013, I watched a lot of just like variety game Let's Plays and variety game reviews. So that's what I started doing. I don't think I really thought that I was going to make it into a career at the time. I just needed something to fill some time with, and I wanted to give it a try. I started the WoW guides because I played a lot of WoW. I'd always played a lot of WoW. I'd been playing for quite a few years at that point, and Mists of Pandaria was fairly recently out, and pet battles were quite a new system.
Yeah.
And I always figured that WoW was even at the time, I thought that there was no room for anybody else in WoW. You look at all the successful creators and be like, well, they're doing it. they don't need me. But then there was this new system, and I'm like, well, maybe if I get in there like now, somebody might need something. So I learned everything I could about pet battles to start with those guides just for like an in, which now I think probably wasn't like that necessary. I think that there is room, as much as you might think that streaming or YouTube is saturated, there is always room for a new voice if it's unique enough. But that was kind of the thinking, was that there might be like an opening. And I also really enjoyed pet battles. I was already way into collecting pets.
Yes!
So I figured I would try.
Oh, you pet battle people. Okay, I can respect you pet battle people, okay? I can respect y'all. I get the passion.
Man, we grew up with Pokemon. What do you want?
I get it, all right. I get it. But when was the point, Hazel, that you kind of like understood, or you took the decision like, all right, this seems to be working for me. I can definitely make this now 100% of my career? Because you said at the beginning you didn't really envision it, but there must have been a point in this journey. It's like, all right, this is it. I'm doing this now.
I mean, I remember when I first got 40 subscribers, and that seemed so much bigger than 39. And I was like, wow, I've done something now. I was very excited about 40. I don't know if I really had that moment of I'm really committing to this, because my situation was a little bit different. When I first started, I was in the United States, but I'm from Canada. I was visiting my boyfriend at the time for like 6 months or so to see if we could live with each other and still be in love. Yeah. And so I needed something to do because he had a job, he was working, and I was just in the house all day, and I cleaned everything on the second day. And then on the third day, I was like, well, now I'm done. So I needed something to keep me busy, but I didn't have a work visa. I had a visitor visa, so I couldn't do anything that was like a job. So I figured what would be clever is if I started this YouTube channel that I've been like thinking about for a really long time, but I didn't monetize it. So it's not technically a job yet. And then just kind of spend my time on that to have a project to work on. And I did that for a while. And then a couple of years went by like that. I went back to Canada, and then I came back down. And again, when I came to the States the second time, it was probably almost a year gap before I got my work visa. So the first couple of years of my YouTube channel were not monetized so that I wasn't violating the terms of my visa. Yeah. And when I finally got when my work approval finally came through, I turned on monetization, and I was making a little bit of money, but I wasn't making a whole career's worth yet. But it still, it seemed a little easy. Like we'd already been living together with me not bringing in income for a few months. So it seemed like we could maybe continue giving me more time to try it, especially because, and this is going to sound really precious and it's just silly, but my dog, our dog, has the worst anxiety you've ever seen in your life. You cannot leave this dog alone. He will scream until you get evicted. Really? He's a wonderful dog, but you just can't leave him alone. Oh. So if I had because I was home all the time, I was able to actually dog sit him and have him, not get us evicted. And if I had gone to go get like an entry-level job somewhere, we would have had to pay for dog daycare. Right. Which would have been about as much as you would be making in minimum wage somewhere. So it seemed kind of easier for me to just like stay home and, well, let's just give YouTube another couple months, and let's just give it another couple months. And I just kind of procrastinated the decision to go get a real job for so long that eventually YouTube turned into something I could actually do. And now I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's nice.
Look at where that dog got you, Hazel.
Yeah, I owe that dog a lot. He's a good boy.
Well, I know a lot of dogs suffer from the anxiety thing, and some of them have more pronounced, some of them not really. But at the end of the day, I think it's a very interesting cocktail of events and things that led you up to the point. But I think you mentioned the 40 subscribers thingy, and I know looking to your past videos, I was looking at the 100 subscribers celebration, and you phrased like it was the coolest phrase, because like Hazel was so happy having 100 subscribers, and she said something like, "Wow, I have 100 subscribers. This is more people than I know."
Yep.
It was so good, man. So good.
Yeah. I think I knew about a dozen people. Yeah. And I was just imagining like a classroom, because it's like 30 people's a classroom. That's like 3 classrooms full of people.
How many people know 100 people though?
That's measuring. Well, if you think about it, man, people in the corporate world, and stuff like that, you get to know 100 people. But I think, what's important here, man, is like, I don't think everybody who gets into content creation really understands how much you treasure people getting on board to your channel. Like, of course, when you get to a certain amount, you don't see that maybe, or you believe, that guy really doesn't care. But actually, when you see 50 subscribers there, in your mind you have this process like, these people chose to click that thing and watch me all the time doing stuff. It's an amazing feeling. So you have to celebrate that.
I used to keep my iPad right next to my bed, and when I was early in my channel, every morning I would wake up and I would go check my subscriber count, and it would be up by like 1, and I'd be like, oh yeah, and I'd be like imagining who it was.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of us are guilty for that for sure. All right, so it wasn't a conscious decision, but basically the dog could not be left alone, so you had to carry on doing the YouTubes. But you did start also streaming quite a while back as well. It's not, you didn't like, oh, I started streaming a year ago. No, was that like, did that came like together with doing the YouTube thing, or how did that decision making go into your? I
didn't start quite at the same time because for a while when I was back in Canada, my internet couldn't support it.
Right.
But I don't really know why I started streaming, to be honest with you. I think it's because everybody else did.
That's the best way.
It was a long time ago. Yeah, I started on Twitch, and then I spent some time on YouTube, and then I went back to Twitch last year. But I don't know if I ever had like a goal or anything. It just seemed like it sort of dovetailed nicely with YouTube because YouTube was so edited and so short. Yeah. Most of my videos are under 10 minutes. And because I had started in Let's Play, I had sort of built this ability to just create dialogue about nothing, just talk about absolutely nothing, and just, spit words out endlessly, basically. Nothing terribly important or funny, but you learn how to just like generate words when you're recording Let's Play videos by yourself. And I'm like, well, that's what streaming is, right? You just play the game and you just talk forever. I can do that. So I figured I would try it.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of kept doing it, and I couldn't really tell you why I kept doing it at the start, because early it was really hard. Now streaming, I think, does as much for me as it does for anybody watching it, because it's just such a regular, nice thing I can look forward to, and there's always people, there to like chat and hang out with me. But early on, when there's nobody watching, and then you see one person come in and just like throw abuse at you and leave, I don't really know why I stuck with it back then.
Well, you must have liked some part of it.
I must have been having more fun than I remember, at least with the early stuff.
I can recall when we had like 5 viewers and then 6 viewers. And then it dropped to like 4, and I was like, oh my god, the crushing sadness.
That thing where like, what did I say? What did I do? Because these people left right now.
Yeah,
it can be crushing, I guess, but I don't know. I guess for most of the people who go into YouTube and then go on to streaming, it's this sense of more, I don't know, direct approach. Because I don't know, you live with this thing, you do YouTube videos, you get comments and you reply to them, you have some sort of conversation there. But on Twitch, you have this feeling that you kind of have a direct and more live conversation with the same people. And it's not always the same people. Well,
they're regulars.
Yeah, but they're regulars. And I don't know, I feel like you get a stronger sense of community when streaming, much more than doing YouTube within the comments. But that's interesting. You streamed on YouTube a lot, and then you decided to switch to Twitch. Can you expand on that, Hazel? Why'd that decision be?
Well, so I started on Twitch for a while, and then I took a break. And when I came back, I decided to come back on YouTube, because when I had left Twitch for the first time, I was running I had, over the course of like 2 or 3 years, worked up from fresh streams to like maybe 20 or 30 viewers, I think.
Right.
And a lot of that was probably down to YouTube. I don't think I would have gotten anywhere on Twitch if I didn't also have YouTube. But when the first day that I fired up a YouTube stream a couple months later just to try it out, I had 100 people in there, and I'd never had that all by myself before without a host.
Yep.
And I found that YouTube streaming just had more viewers, and that was like really kind of intoxicating to be able to turn it on and have 3 digits of people there just because YouTube would serve up the stream in the sidebar. And because my presence was on YouTube anyways, I had a much easier time getting viewers. So, and it was also like really easy to just keep the VODs on my channel, and there wasn't a whole lot of competition in the YouTube gaming category at the time, because nobody knew about YouTube gaming, but like the one person that wandered through there, you'd be right at the top of it because there was nobody really in there.
That was
at the time. Yeah. So I went to YouTube because the viewer numbers were bigger and because it was more convenient for me, and also because I was not a Twitch partner when I left, so I didn't have transcoding. And YouTube would give transcoding to anybody, and I really wanted to have high res streams. I've always just kind of wanted the fidelity to be good. I like putting out 4K videos. I like having high frame rate. I wanted my streams to be 1080p, 60 FPS, and Twitch wouldn't. I could do that to Twitch, but it wouldn't downscale it for people that needed it unless they just had some extra server space, whereas YouTube would do that for me. So that's why I went to YouTube. And then eventually, after about a year or so on YouTube, I switched back to Twitch, or at least I tried both for a while to figure out what Twitch was like, because people just kept asking me endlessly. And it turns out if you ask me something 250 times, eventually I'm going to try it just to humor you, because it just, I got worn down, basically. And then when I tried both for a while, and what I found was that I would stream on YouTube 2 days and Twitch 3 days. I found that the viewers were still higher on YouTube, but to be quite frank, I made more money on Twitch because once I got affiliate, Twitch Prime is insane compared to anything that YouTube has. And if I could make more money for the same amount of time and get my audience to find me on Twitch, then it just seemed to make sense.
Of course. I mean, that's something we kind of, we got sort of to the same conclusion. It's the same thing. You stream on YouTube, it's almost a guarantee you have more viewers because of the push. Your content is already there, your videos and such. And if you decide to go live, most of the people that get your videos recommended get your stream recommended too, right? So it's easier to get the traffic going on. But in terms of making it, sustainable, Twitch is a much better place to be at. So
there were speculations that YouTube would overtake it, but I remain unconvinced. But it is interesting because you started with YouTube videos, and I don't know how many people understand that, because a lot of content creators do either really heavy YouTube edited videos and then stream on the side, or stream mainly and use stream highlights to make YouTube videos. Like there's all sorts of content creators that do this differently. But it's different because YouTube, you kind of put your heart and soul into create something, whether it's scripted or edited or heavy or not. It's something that you invest your energy, your time, your thoughts into it, and it grows, and you feel like so amazing when people watch is so great and the feedback is really nice. You read the comments, you respond to however many you can respond to. And while Twitch, on the other hand, kind of connects you, like Marcelian said, connects you more directly with your community. You actually are in a conversation with people, you get your feedback instantly, and they're kind of with you while you play in a weird way. So there's that weird sense of bonding, because I felt this whenever we stopped streaming. I was like, man, I kind of miss those guys. And it's definitely right? a different satisfaction. So with all of these aside, like what do you like more? What do you find more enjoyable or get most out of in terms of, I guess, good feeling, I suppose? YouTube or Twitch?
Twitch or YouTube, yeah. Good.
That's hard. I think if I had to pick just one, I would keep YouTube, because YouTube is the platform that I like more as a viewer. I like that it's sort of like shorter form, and I like that it's on demand, and that I don't have to worry about feeling late or not catching it live and then having it be different just watching a VOD. Because I prefer following people on YouTube, that's the platform I would probably stick with. And it's a little, I'm a bit shy, I guess. I kind of like just sort of like turning all the lights off and hiding in the largest sweater ever and just editing for a while. I like kind of doing the gremlin thing. So YouTube is sort of safer in that way, in that, well, you can read comments and reply to them. I gave up on that quite a while ago. I use Twitch for that because it's just a little more actively moderated, I guess. So it's a little nicer on the sensitive feelings.
Oh, we know
but
that.
On the other hand, with Twitch kind of feels like the Instagram stories versus YouTube Instagram post, if that makes any sense. Like on Twitch, because it's so, I don't want to say low effort, but because it's so easy to just do something and nobody's expecting it to be like super highly edited or super produced, you can just have an idea or try something kind of wacky and just do it. And then if it's fun, then that's great. And if it's not, you do something else, then nobody's the worse for it. Whereas with YouTube, if you have like a weird idea and you want to do it and you're looking at like, well, I can try this thing, but it's going to be like an extra 6 hours of editing, and there's going to be a couple days on this, and then you got to do the thumbnail and everything. You've got like an actual investment that makes you kind of like second side eye your ideas and be like, well, this is funny, but is it worth spending 3 days of my work week on? Whereas on Twitch, you can just kind of do whatever and it's a little lower pressure. So I feel like they complement each other really well because you can create a quantity of content without having to work too hard by just using Twitch. I find that Twitch I don't usually stress about streaming the same way that a YouTube video might stress me out.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that YouTube is probably where I provide most of the value to viewers, and that's the one I would keep if I had to choose, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think we're kind of in the same boat, more or less. YouTube is still the primary driver of, our craft, right? Because that's the thing. On YouTube, you basically craft stuff. On Twitch, you just go freestyle, organic, natural. Both sides of the spectrum are nice, and they give different sense of rewarding or whatever. But I remember while exchanging emails, Hazel, that you mentioned something about making guides, and I was really curious, but I thought it was maybe a good topic for the podcast. Can you tell us how is a normal work day when you're prepping for guides and stuff like that, or how is a normal workflow? How do you put them all together, if you can share, of course?
It depends on what kind of guide it is and what the deadline is on it. I work in different ways depending on how urgent it is. On like a normal week, like this week was a good example. We're kind of past like the initial patch stuff, and I have a little more freedom of choosing what kind of videos I want to do now. I have a set schedule. I stream at certain times. I tend to keep my work kind of like 9 to 5 if I can. I try to keep a remarkably stable schedule. So I'll have a couple hours in the afternoon, an hour in the morning, sit down, cup of tea, turn on some jazz music, and then just kind of like and work through it. For as far as workflow goes, for most guides these days, I prefer to not fully script them. I used to, but I fall into a very hard case of presenter voice if I'm fully scripting. And fully scripting also will make a very short video, which is good if you want that. Yeah. But sometimes it's a little too much. People will say they're overwhelmed by too many info points too quickly. Yeah. So instead, what I do is I will do my research and I'll record a lot of my footage and I'll make a bunch of notes about things that I want to talk about. And then I'll record the voiceover by just talking over those notes. And I do the news videos the same way. I have like bullet points that I want to cover, but I come up with the sentences in the fly so they sound a little bit more natural. Yeah. And then I'll edit the voiceover together, come up with a shot list, record all the footage, slap it all together, slap some titles on it, and call it a day. And that's usually within like a regular workday, and that's all fine. Often if I've gotten distracted during the day, which is quite normal, I think I cannot conquer the after lunch slump for the life of me. Like right around now, actually, between like 1 and 3, I'm useless. So if I end my day and I've gotten very little done by the end of the day, then I'll work a couple more hours after dinner just to get something done. But during raid guide season, because I have to get the guides done before the raid comes out, and that's a deadline, and I don't have very many of those, and I'm not very good with them. So no matter how carefully I craft out my plan and my timeline and create slots of time for every last little thing, and without fail, I am always rushing at the very end of it. And I think Nathria was the first time in a long time that I haven't had to pull an all-nighter to get them done at the very end. But usually I'll have like a week or so where I'm just working I'll still sleep. I'm very defensive about sleep if I can, and I still eat, but then I won't do anything else. I'll just, you work before breakfast and then breakfast to lunch and then lunch to dinner and then dinner to bed. You go to bed, you do it again, just to get those done on time. And I'm more effective like that than I think I am during like a so-called balanced day, because there's lots of like little things that like eat up space in the balanced day. You're fixing things because you work from home. I'm always cleaning. I can't pass a dusty surface without fixing it, and it just ruins me all the time. But like if I know I've got a deadline and I know I'm going to be up until 1 a.m. finishing this thing, then I just kind of ignore the dust and I tunnel into it and I crank it out. But I only do that a couple times a year. It burns me out pretty good.
Just go with the flow. It's like if you know you got it, you go with the train, and the train may never stop until the project is done. I mean, I think we can relate. And this is why we really wanted you to be on the podcast, because in a lot of ways our content is sort of similar. We kind of drop the news thing, but when it comes to guides, we can always, I won't say respect more, but we can definitely appreciate more, a content creator that takes his time and puts in the effort and the passion and the craft to deliver guides on time, on point, proper information, proper editing, and proper delivery. I mean, people don't really know how much work goes back into that, and you just described. So it's really cool that you actually try to stick with a schedule. Of course, it doesn't always work out. You know, it doesn't. We also do that with the schedule. Sometimes it works out. Most of the times it works out, but things sometimes appear. You know, like I don't know. Sometimes Adobe Premiere just wouldn't collaborate that day. It would keep on crashing. You know, you would sit on 3 hours rendering a video, and it will crash at 95%. Assets missing, you know, all of that jazz. But, you know, at the end of the day, once you get it done, it's, you know, it's a labor of love. And I mean, you mentioned the thing about the comments. You said you dropped it a while back. And I can totally understand that, you know, being this public and having this amount of exposure, let's say, even within a niche like WoW, can attract some interesting people, I would say, in the comment section.
It's very nicely put, man. Like,
yeah, it's but again, it's something I think we all love here. Now, Hazel, it's been, you know, it's interesting to see how where you started from and where you're at now. Basically, the journey is always interesting, but I'm curious, like during this whole 8-year time, did you ever had like a moment where you wanted to give up, or was it something like, oh man, I cannot do this anymore, I cannot take it anymore, I need to do something else? Did you have anything like that, a sort of a doubt moment, or I don't know, a low point?
I get low points fairly regularly, but I don't think I've ever seriously contemplated quitting because I don't know what else I would do. I think part of what put me into YouTube was my anxiety about doing anything else. I'm very afraid of the world, I think, and YouTube is a great way for me to just stay inside and do my own thing and not have to interface with other people too much. So I don't think I ever really thought of quitting. Occasionally I will get frustrated or fed up with like one aspect of what I'm doing. Like maybe I'm doing a video series or like a certain type of stream, or if there's something that's just really turning into a real slog that I don't think is worth it anymore, then I'll reevaluate and I might kind of, you know, end a series or start something new or just try something different. But I don't think I ever thought about, I haven't seriously considered getting completely out of content creation yet because I don't have a better idea.
Fair enough.
And I can't really think of one. I think that I feel like I've sort of won the lottery, and I think it would be very dumb of me to give up a job where I have so much creative control, where if I start to feel trapped or if I start to feel burnt out, I am the boss, so I get to decide what I make, and if something's not doing it for me, then it's completely up to me to decide what's going to be more fulfilling, and I can make those decisions and calls for myself. Whereas if I quit this and I went to go work for somebody else and I start feeling the same way, I don't have that option. So I think that I'd rather change anything I need to about my content to make it work for me before I walked away from it altogether.
Very true. But what about one of the highest points? I mean, did you have any moment where like, oh man, this is so cool, or some sort of yes, I made it, oh my god, this is so good? Like no low points or no contemplating, of course, it's totally understandable. But what about like a moment where you said, man, this is all worth it, this was so cool, so impacting?
Well, aside from getting 40 subs, after that,
it's the real milestone.
The first time, let's see, I remember every time that I've like ever talked to Blizzard. And yes. I understand they're just a company, and I know that now, and it's not, I don't idolize it quite the same way that I used to, but like the first time I got to visit Blizzard, the first time they flew me down for a media event,
that's so cool.
Was just the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. When I first found out I was going to get to do that, I was so excited
I can imagine.
To be able to go in the first, like I'd never been to California, and to be able to tour the headquarters and to be able to meet developers, which was almost more scary. The first time I went there, I went to interview a developer. It was to go interview Jeremy Fiesel about, I think it was like a Legion patch. And it was so scary, but it was just so exciting and validating to be like, wow, I've done enough that I'm on the list. I'm on the good list.
Yeah, exactly.
They've recognized what I've done, and they're interested enough in my audience to, you know, extend invitations to me to show me things early and to find out what I think about them, so that I guess I like them enough to keep talking up their product to my audience. But the first time I ever, every time I've ever interfaced with them on events and stuff is always just so exciting and validating. And the very first time I got one of those emails, I'm pretty sure I ran around the house doing laps. As lightly as you can in an apartment anyways, but I was real excited.
That sounds pretty cool.
It's basically the same as us. Like the first time we got the email, like confirmation, because for us it was a little bit different because I used to spam all the emails I could find on the internet regarding Blizzard. You want that validation, right? Because you've seen others, right? And you know, it's part of the whole circle, I guess, of WoW content creation. At some point, if you know, you can do something in collaboration with them, anything, and on that level, it's a really, really strong validation moment, right? But like the moment we got a reply, it was like, yes, look at us, we did it, it's so good. Fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and yeah, it was definitely a big moment for us, and one that actually we wish we had was this year's Blizzcon, and that actually leads me to something that I'm really curious about, because Blizzcon is one of our dreams. Clearly, it's a little bit hard to go to Blizzcon from the side of the world, from the butt crack of the world. But do you have like a favorite memory, either at Blizzcon or either meeting anybody in the community, something that made you feel like, oh my god, I'm part of something really cool, or oh shit, this like I don't know, one of those moments when you realize like you're part of something like bigger. so much bigger and so cool, and everybody's like tuning in, is like people know me and stuff like that.
So I've done BlizzCon twice. I did 2018 and 2019. I had different moments where I would meet like developers. I have this very vivid memory of at 2018 hiding from Ian.
Oh, really?
Behind a pillar. I was talking to somebody that had wanted to meet me, and they mentioned that they had just chatted with Ian, and I'd be like, oh no, I'd be too scared to do that. And they're like, no, you're going to. And I'm like, no. So I like ran away because he was going to try to find Ian to bring him to talk to me, and I didn't want to because I was scared and I didn't have anything to say. So I remember I hid behind a pillar, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
In 2018, you
were basically LOSing Ian as a hostess.
I LOS'd Ian. I didn't want to get dragged into that. I wasn't ready. But all of my favorite memories are of, and I'm not kidding, waiting in line. BlizzCon lines for merchandise, for food, for getting in, for anything are fantastic because they take so long, especially last year. Last year with the extra security, the lines took hours to get through. So you've got like a couple people in front of you, you got a couple people behind you. You are going to be standing with those people for an hour at least. My merch line, I think, on the very first day, I was there for like 3 hours or so with the same group of people. And when you're in line with random people, but they're all Blizzard fans, you figure out pretty quickly what you have in common, what you can talk about, and you like make friends in the lines as you're waiting for stuff. And you may never see those people again. But there's nowhere else in the world that I feel like I can do that. Just like, you know, you can make small talk with anybody, but to actually like, you know, get a conversation going and hang out with people and find out why they're there. And the BlizzCon crowd is so cool because there's so much cynicism about games online, which is natural, but it's also, it kind of leads to this sort of like expectation that everybody's kind of looking at it crazy critically, and we're all just waiting for Blizzard to mess up, and everything's just very angry online. And then at BlizzCon, you get kind of the opposite bubble where people that are there for the most part have paid a lot of money and done a lot of time to travel and to get tickets and to get, you know, accommodations. These are people that are really, really into the Blizzard stuff, and they're just so excited to be there and to meet everybody and to see the presentations and to talk about what's been announced. And there's something so cool about getting to just hang out in a huge crowd of people that you didn't know before, but they're as big of a fan of you as you are, of the thing that you came there to see, and to be able to bond with people like that. It just feels like going home. And I really missed that this year.
Oh yeah.
But the crowds were always more fun than the parties. There's usually different parties where different like companies will put on, and they invite you to just kind of like schmooze and hand out business cards. And those are always a mistake. I'm going to skip that next time if I get invited. It's never a good time. You want to go to the hotel lobbies and just like find somebody and chat about their rating character.
Right.
That's the move.
I know. There's parties like hosted by Wowhead and what was the
Wowhead party's a good time.
Yeah,
Calm Before the Storm. They merged last year. Yeah, they did one big one. Those are good.
All right. So you know, it's good advice, man. You know, maybe
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, take notes. Awesome. I mean, it's definitely I think we can speak for the majority of, the WoW community. At some point, it's a dream for the most of us to get to BlizzCon, and chat it out and geek it out, with like-minded people, and also be part of the whole presentation and spectacle. I mean, the social element is really cool, especially when you're waiting 3 hours in line. Well, man, would I have loved to be there to watch live, the Shadowlands cinematic, or the BFA cinematic, I mean, you see it on on online, or on reactions and stuff, and you can just feel that energy, right? Like people are just like, oh my god, the hype is so, like, you can almost feel it. One day, that's something we should definitely strive for. All right, now I kind of get now where you're coming from, Hazel. Let me ask you this. So you have this sort of a structured way of working out your content. You work by the schedule. You have your most content creators have their periods in time on new patch launches, stuff like that. BlizzCon is now, we get news from that, all of that. Let me ask you this. Have you ever thought about what are you going to do in 10 years from now? Do you have like plans on developing, going outside a little bit of the WoW sphere or something like that? Is there anything happening in that front?
So 10 years from now is kind of a scary thought, especially when you're on the internet. But I mean, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I would like, and I've been saying this for a long time, which is making me skeptical that I'm ever going to do it. I would like to expand a little bit beyond just WoW videos to also cover more meta streaming and content creation. People ask me fairly often about like, how do I edit audio, or, how do I set up my streaming software? How do you choose a camera? And there's like a million things around that I remember when I was looking to set up all of my stuff. There were some good resources and there were some terrible resources, and there was a lot of guessing, especially when it comes to setting up just all this stuff and it doesn't want to work. And like you pick up tips over time. So I've always kind of wanted to set up like a second little section of just like more sort of tech and meta content creator sort of tutorials and startup stuff. So cool. Because there's lots of people that are looking to get into it, and that's something that I feel like I'm fairly well set up to do. Yeah. I have a couple of like mic reviews and camera videos on my channel, and I would like to do more, but I make them approximately every other year, so I need to step that up if I'm going to get any done.
I think there's definitely...
It's hard when there's always WoW videos to do. There's always WoW videos to do. Oh,
yeah. That's the main thing when you want to do something that is a little bit out of the spectrum, right? Because there's so much stuff happening, and now the time right now is like the raid is out. BlizzCon is like right around the corner. That's gonna mess up a whole lot of things, and put up more things on the schedule. But I think judging by the quality of your videos, your coloring, your sound, and everything, you'd be like one of the more fit people to do something like this. And I really truly believe people are interested in starting, especially during this whole quarantine time. More people want to start doing this thing, and that's definitely one important aspect, especially the audio. I mean, everything is like top notch, but man, is your audio fantastic all the goddamn time. I mean, I'm jealous. I gotta say, as an audio maniac myself, I'm like, man, Hazel, that sounds so good, man. I don't know what you're doing over there.
It's a good microphone. I like this thing.
It's very nice, very nice. But I'm just gonna bounce off of that, Hazel, and ask you this: like, if you were to like give a couple of tips or advice to people thinking about starting YouTube, what would you say to them? What would be like, a couple of ideas, or I don't know, things, best practices for people starting out now, trying to do some YouTube? Yeah.
So there's a lot of different advice that'll get thrown around, and some of it you're going to hear all the time, and the ones that keep coming up are usually the good ones. So advice like upload regularly is very, very important. The thing is, a lot of the information that you're going to get from established YouTubers they kind of forgot what it was like to start. And a lot like uploading regularly isn't going to do you any good when nobody's seen them in the first place. Like, your first struggle as a brand new YouTuber is making decent videos that you're ready for people to watch. And that doesn't happen right away. At least it didn't for me. I had to make a lot of videos that I thought were awful and that I still don't like the videos I make now, but I had to kind of learn the ropes, and you kind of learn by doing. So the first piece of advice is to start before you think you're ready and put stuff out, even if you think it's trash. And if you think it's awful, then make the next one 1% better. The second piece of advice kind of contradicts the first one, and is that before you start, do your homework on data privacy, because it is much easier to prevent doxing than it is to fix it after it's happened. So before you even get started and you're considering like your branding and your name and are you going to use a camera and what are you going to tell people about yourself, see, like if your username is attached to other usernames, if you're sharing passwords or anything like that, do some research on like basic data security, because if you are putting yourself publicly online, you are opening yourself up to risks that you may not fully understand. And the best thing you can do is be as careful with your personal information as you can. And that's easier to do from the start. So things like social media profiles that use a similar name or that could be traced back to you, any information that's on those, just double check all your privacy settings. I recommend that people come up with a completely new handle if you can. Just don't connect it to anything that you've done before, and set up new social medias for each thing, because you don't want to have to fix a problem on that end. You want to prevent them before they start, and the very beginning is the best time to do that. Yep. But yeah, once you're good to go, just make things before you think you're ready. Keep working on making them a little bit better, and then just don't be afraid to try new things. Everybody's going to have advice for you, but there's a million different ways to be successful, and the things that you see the top people doing won't necessarily work for you. You might need to come up with something on your own, or you might need to start in one segment and then switch to another one as you get bigger. A lot of people will look at like the very most popular gaming YouTubers. They'll look at like the Minecrafters going on. They'll look at offline TV people, and they'll see, hey, a lot of this content is personality based. I'm funny and charming. I'm going to make a vlog of walking my dog, and they'll do that. And that's great practice and it's cute. Don't do that. Actually, people will find out where you live, but it's nobody knows you yet. Nobody knows you yet. And this is also a problem with people starting streams, is if the value of the content is people spending time with your personality and they don't know you yet, they have no reason to assign any value to that. So save, like, you can do those things eventually, but save them until people are a little more familiar with you. And early on, the thing that worked for me was focusing on finding content that people needed, whether they knew me or not, which is where guides and tutorials are awesome, is because you can get those ranked in search. If you look up some search engine optimization, do your research on SEO, and figure out how to get your videos ranked for the search terms that you think people are looking for, and then make them relevant and helpful to the people looking for them. And then people can kind of get familiar with you while you're giving them something they were looking for, and then they might come back to you for something else that's more personality driven. But don't just assume that everybody's going just because, like, no matter how funny you are, people got to get to know you first. So give people a reason to get to know you before you jump into the deep end.
Well, wow. We know that, man. There's so many parallels we can draw.
This is so fucking on point.
I know.
It's unbelievable how articulate this was. Nobody could have said it better. It's perfect. And honestly, I never thought about the part about the privacy and the data security and all of that. That's something I literally never heard anybody talk about, and it's so important. Oh my God. Especially when you grow a little bit bigger, like you get to a point and you get more public and more public. Oh my God, that can become a big problem if you don't take care of it properly. So Jesus,
yeah,
on point.
And even if you're not worried about your own privacy and you're like, well, I don't care if people know who I am or where I live. If they can find out who you are and where they live, they can find your parents, they can find your family, they can harass them if they want to, and you don't necessarily need to have done anything wrong. I don't mean to terrify people. It's just something that's worth thinking about before you get into trouble.
It's good reality check, Hazel. So definitely people need to know about this stuff, 100%. And I love how you wrapped it up in the sense that obviously right now YouTube on the long term prefers the personality entertainment driven content. But and I think we talked about this in previous podcasts, one trick, I would say, not necessarily a trick, but something that actually works, and Hazel mentioned it too, is like, hey man, you can start researching how to do proper SEO, right? Rank up on keywords and become sort of this utility type channel, like with guides and stuff like that, and then grow off of that, which is beautiful. It's basically what we did. It's more or less. It's kind of the same story, but it works. That's the thing. The thing with that is, at the beginning, for a very long time, people will just be passengers. They won't be necessarily like, recurrent coming to your channel. You just be like, okay, I need this stuff. I got what I needed from you. See you, bye. There's not that immediate sense of connection and community when you do a lot of guides, a lot of utility stuff. But as soon as you do it and start introducing a little bit more of your charming personality or whatever, then it will start to pop off, and then things can develop like into a stream or other type of content and stuff. It's beautiful, beautiful, and I love how perfectly stated and articulated. I hope people get value out of this, because it's really important. I mean, if you won't believe Hazel, which you can say is an established YouTuber and streamer in the WoW section, I mean, who else? Come on.
Yeah, it's a lot of on point things. And I was actually surprised how in-depth you went with all the technical stuff, because...
Oh yeah, respect!
Yeah, I don't know if we ever had anybody that went that on point. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows about, search engine optimization and how to rank videos and how to do a little bit of research. Like, what actually would, get the video pumped a little bit more? What's actually popular right now? Are they looking for class guides? Are they looking for raid guides? Do they look for pet guides? Because we've tried a lot of stuff before we kind of settled into class guides. We've tried a lot of things to see why they worked, because we also were like, hey man, we're pretty funny. We're quirky. We're hella cringy.
How about us?
Yeah, people should just come for the pure entertainment, right? But they're just not. That's just not how the platform works. So you kind of have to start with. We started with utility, and it worked out for us as well when we actually wanted to do a little bit more. And I'm saying all of this because I did want to ask you something specific, but it kind of turned into you talking a lot about the alternative to WoW, where you would talk about editing and audio
and equipment and stuff.
And everything like that. Because I was about to ask, like, did you plan on anything besides WoW? Because depends on how BFA hit you and how Worlds of the Draenor hit you. There were low enough points where most people would have went, man, what if WoW tanks? What am I gonna do then, right?
Man, Fortnite sounds pretty good right about now.
Yeah, the Fortnite was probably on the top of a lot of people's list. But I know you mentioned going into a little bit more technical with like guides on how to set up a proper video and how to edit and all of that. But did you ever think about maybe a different game, or do you even have other games that you play maybe off stream, or something that you're
She
really
used to play
into?
Don't Starve. I know that.
Yeah. So early on, I did want to do variety content. That was my original plan, is I wanted to just play different games, as kind of was like the YouTube thing. A lot of the popular games YouTubers at the time were just kind of jumping between games, and that was my original plan. I did later... So I don't know if I ever really doubted that I would stick with WoW. I'm one of those people that just always likes WoW. I liked Warlords of Draenor. I liked BFA. I've had a great time the whole time. I'm just really easy to please, I guess. I'm not that picky about how it is, as long as I get to play. Sure. So I never really thought strongly about quitting WoW videos, but I do play other games off stream. I play Hearthstone Battlegrounds. I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. And back when Animal Crossing New Horizons came out, I made one video about it. I did one video of Animal Crossing tips because I had some, and I figured some of my audience might play, and it probably wouldn't do as well because it's not a WoW video, but I would just throw it out there. And that is my most watched video. I make one Animal Crossing video, and it is by far way bigger than anything else I've ever done in my life.
How the fuck?
That kind of made me think, man, am I in the wrong boat? Should I be doing something different with my life? So I'm not against transitioning to other games. I think if I ever got off of WoW, I would probably do my best to make content about the games that I'm personally enjoying, because that's always going to be a better video than something that you're playing just for the views.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true.
But it's nice when the game that you're enjoying is also getting views.
But that's, what's baffling to me about that is that, like, at least from my knowledge on how the YouTube algorithm works, is basically you get your videos recommended to the people that kind of watch and have a certain pattern. And then you post a Animal Crossing video, which in theory gets pumped and promoted to the same audience, right? And usually...
And it did at first. The first 2 weeks of that video, it didn't do very well at all. And the the algorithm, that little natural language thing, is like, man, your audience doesn't like this very much. I'm like, well, yeah, I figured. Yeah. But eventually the algorithm starts like testing it. Like it'll try showing it a little bit to different audiences, and it must have just had a good enough click-through rate. Yeah. That first time that they showed it to some, like when they found the Animal Crossing keywords, it must have just done enough there that it got carried into general Animal Crossing videos, because it still to this day is getting me. It's always my top 3 for views for the month, because it's just cooking in there.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, it goes to show you learn something every day, Mr. Flame.
Yeah, because we had little tangents with God of War and other stuff like that. It's like they tanked so hard.
Oh my God, it's like hurting. But this is super cool, Hazel. And actually, I got a lot of good value information upon a lot of things. It's interesting, but I'm more curious. You seem, at the surface at least, pretty organized, but how does a off day look for Hazelnutty Games? How does like the one day disconnected from YouTube and games and stuff like that? What do you do to, I don't know, relax or unwind or something like that?
I take every Monday off. Now that you mentioned it, I am kind of disgustingly organized, which is really funny because I'm not naturally that way. I do that. I organize. I do the bullet journal thing, and just because without it, I just devolve into goo. I just turn into an amoeba on the floor. Like I won't do anything if I haven't already planned it out. So my days off are Monday. I take every Monday off, which is nice because if I need to go do any shopping or anything, it's quite quiet because it's a weekday. Every Monday, I will take some self-care time. I will wash and dry my hair, which takes longer than you would think. I've started doing nail art. I've learned how to do like fun little, let's see if I can get a focus on that. Little designs and flowers and stuff. Oh, so I did that yesterday because yesterday was Monday.
Hello.
So spend a couple hours doing that. Play some WoW, play some games. Maybe go get some shopping done. But because it's just the one day, I find that they get pretty full. You know, you do a Mythic Keystone or so in the afternoon, and then it's over before you know it. I'm starting to appreciate the value of a 2-day weekend just to get all your chores done.
But do you, I don't know, sometimes sit out and watch movies or Netflix or something like that, or read books or listen to podcasts? Is things like this, you know, in your world or on a daily basis or on the free days?
I read every day between the hours of 9:45 and 10:30 or 11 or so at night. I read before bed. I have an iPad. I do digital books on that in night mode, and then it's nice because I don't have to have a lamp on. I can just kind of read by dark. I've been rereading the Game of Thrones series for like the 19th time, even though I know it's going to break my heart when I get to the end of it and there's no next book. But that's what I'm reading right now.
George, come on, let's finish it.
I think I'm giving up, man. I think I just have to imagine the end in my head.
I cannot give it up.
Yeah, not so much movies. I have a hard time with movies. I have a short attention span. I find it difficult to sit and focus on one thing, and I tend to get bored with movies, so I don't go out. I usually will watch them while doing other things. Like maybe if I'm doing my nails for a few hours, I'll put on a movie and kind of look back and forth between them, but I don't watch a ton of TV or movies because I would rather play games. Like right now, because I'm deep in an Animal Crossing, deep in an Animal Crossing hole right now. I'll play while I'm eating breakfast, and I'll play again while I'm eating lunch. And sometimes I'll put it on in the afternoon and just sit on Discord with my friends and then listen to them do a dungeon or something like that while I'm busy shooting down balloons in Animal Crossing.
It's a true gamer.
Did you have like have you ever read like a book that really inspired you or something that really helped you out? I don't know, maybe in the field of, you know, content creation or something like that, or just being productive. Have you ever read all, you know, kind of those books?
Yeah, I went on a big tear with self-help books. I spent about 2 years where that was all I would read. I would read every day, and I constantly felt like I could be doing better, and that if I would only read the right thing, then I would be the person I wanted to be. And I must just be missing that piece of advice, which we all know is dumb. But you know, I was convinced, so I read all of the recommended, all of the classics, and most of them just kind of rephrase the same things and restate the same studies. And if you believe in them, then you'll do great with them, and you can do great with any of them. But the only self-help books that I actually found had solid research and were genuinely helpful.
Okay, hold on.
And were scientific and not like super, you know, super crystals and
I'm just opening the notepad
believing
here.
yourself. Cal Newport's books. He is a professor, I believe, at Georgetown University, and he has written a number of books about productivity and about your attention and how you direct it. And I really enjoyed those. There's Deep Work. His newest one is Digital Minimalism. I believe he's working on another one. And then another one was So Good They Can't Ignore You. But Cal Newport, is probably my favorite author in that space. I've read all of those a couple of times, and they're very valuable. That's what I think got me mostly off of social media and off of consuming news sites and like digital media endlessly, because I would get very addicted. I would get very obsessive with consuming news. And I think that, and using digital tools, and I think that reading his books kind of helped me evaluate things in a case-by-case basis to see, okay, so I'm putting this energy and this time into this tool. What is it actually giving me, and what would my life look like if I took it out of there? And I think that writing's been very helpful for me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I actually didn't heard about Cal Newport up until now, so I am definitely curious. This is what it's all about, right? So we do these podcasts, and at the surface, most people see the WoW content creators like, oh, these guys and gals are doing this nonstop, playing all the time and editing and stuff. And look what gems can come out of this. It's beautiful. Chill talk and finding out some valuable information. Thank you for that, Hazel. I 100% appreciate it.
It's always interesting to see what kind of books people read behind the scenes, because I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, we're playing a fantasy game, but where did fantasy kind of start from? Mm-hmm. Like most fantasy games, if not all of them, are kind of based on Tolkien.
Tolkien is the godfather of a lot of things we enjoy, I guess. So yeah, it's at the end of the day, I wanted to ask you about the thing with the reading and the stuff, because man, you're so articulate. You have this like super crisp pronunciation of words, and it's so that has to come from some reading. And you said you took 2 years of self-help books. I mean, oh my God. And I totally can relate. It's like you always have this feeling of, man, I can improve. I know there's something I can do better. I just need to find it in the right book and the right advice and stuff. But yeah, mostly like a lot of like, I sort of came to the same conclusion. A lot of the classic or more popular self-help books kind of like the same sort of ideas and material, refurbished, retold in different scope, but it's basically the essence is the same. And you said something really, really powerful. Listen, any book you get recommended, any podcast or whatever, it only works if you truly believe in it. Like if you just read it because you heard somebody say, oh my God, this book changed my life, it's so good, it ain't gonna work. You have to believe in it. It's so simple. It's so cool. All right.
There's no book that's going to get you out of doing the work, unfortunately.
That's a joke. Yeah, you better put in that goddamn grind.
But there's so many ads that say I can just make $10,000 by doing nothing. So they're all lies? No.
I'm sorry, man. All right. Well, Hazel, we're getting close to the ending mark here. We're trying to keep it into an hour mark. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to have you here and actually talk about other things than World of Warcraft and pet battles and raid guides and almost Saturdays videos. Obviously, the community, your community, our community, they watch the content for the value you provide and all of the gist of it and all of the pizzazz that comes with it. But man, I'm pretty sure a lot of the folks are actually interested in, what's happening behind. Like, well, what does Hazel do to relax? What books does she read? How does the process work? And, I just want to thank you, for being open and, sharing a lot of this stuff. It's been definitely inspiring and helpful at the same time. I cannot wait to order me some Cal Newport.
It's been really fun as well to see how many things that actually not a lot of content creators go that still affects me. Not a lot of content creators go that in depth about their editing process and how much it takes to actually make a guide. And it's so cool to know that there's so many similarities between the work that you do and the work that we do.
Yeah,
it's like kind of meeting somebody like, oh yeah,
it's almost
same
weird.
thing. Yeah. Well, it's I mean the kind of process. It's been amazing, and I've been watching your channel for a lot of years, and your growth is amazing, and it kind of It personally kind of to me a little bit when you said like the standard WoW YouTuber, or I don't know how you phrase it at the beginning, is like you're doing pretty good. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, it's very good. But
shucks.
if you listen closely, like she will never be satisfied. She'll always want to get that
that's all creative people.
Yeah, man. That's what it is. And one thing, Hazel, you should definitely start. Well, I think it's a good time to just put on the bricks for that channel you're thinking about on, tips and equipment and stuff, the meta stuff, right? I think that's really missing, and you should definitely do it. I mean, well, just look at the quality of our camera and the sound. I mean, the sound is going through the Discord.
Hey guys, if you don't believe me, check this out.
Yeah. Look, check. Well, if you haven't known already, look at the links over there.
There you can find Hazel all over the place.
YouTube.com, Twitch.tv, Twitter.com/Hazelnutty Games. That's where you can find her. Thank you once again, Hazel, for joining. It's been a pleasure. Hope we can have you again on season 3.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can talk then more about your new channel and how will that go for you. No pressure though.
Yeah. That would be fun. That would be fun. It's always fun to talk shop. I feel like because you work, I mean, you guys have each other, but because I work like so solo on this stuff, I don't often have a lot of opportunity to just chat about all the bits that make it go, and that's like part of my favorite part. I love the tech of it. It's just so interesting. So always fun to get to talk about it.
I kind of got the image of it because you seem like a tech geek, like the cameras and microphone stuff. But we'll definitely save some material for the next episode. That being said, thank you so much, Hazel, for joining.
Thank you very much. It's been a blast.
Yeah. It's enough with the outro, right? That's it. We can make the closing part and check it up on the next.
This has been for the first episode of Mocast, the second season. And you can find our show on Spotify, Overcast,
Apple, iTunes, YouTube,
all the stuff. And if you're listening on all of those platforms, you can also check our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MarcelianOnline, where we play WoW and do some basic class guides. And hey, if you don't know where your interrupt is,
check us out. Also, be sure to check the previous episodes on season 1. We got a bunch of cool stuff and inspiring also, with folks like Noble and Mr. GM and Stoops on the PvP. With the Stoops one was like more of a
Pyromancer, Akalon.
Yeah, it's a blast. It's a blast. Yeah, the hero one is also really good. Like, all of them are really good. Definitely check them out. And that being said, let's cut it off because we've been like a 5-hour outro.
Let's get the fuck out. This going. See you next time, guys. Take care.
Have a great week ahead.
Still I play WoW.